I'd argue that Smith and Jones is Rusty Davies' most successful season opener of Doctor Who. By its third year, Davies has firmly established the format of the show, to the point where he could successfully lose both his leading actors. Christopher Eccleston had been replaced by David Tennant at the end of the first season, and Billy Piper had departed at the end of the second. Davies had demonstrated that this series could survive a cast rotation like that, and there's a sense of looseness about Smith and Jones that suggests the show has really found its comfort zone now. The reason that Smith and Jones works so well is how it doesn't have an abundance of ambition. Its goal is relatively modest, to tell an enjoyable modern-day adventure while introducing a new companion to the show. The beauty is in the execution here. Smith and Jones races along, barely pausing to catch his breath, relying on Tennant's abundant charisma, a constant flow of clever high concepts, and a charming new companion to carry it through. And it really works. Freema Agyeman is solid, and generally does some great stuff with the material she is given, but that's not enough over the season to support her. The problem is that the show never really gives us more than substantial than a competent companion in its own right, and is not Rose. Smith and Jones does a very good job at introducing Martha, and setting pretty much everything up. It's a testament to just how comfortable Davies is, of giving literally all of Martha's expanded family stuff to do, and it's handled very efficiently. It doesn't clutter the episode up at all. Like Rose, we get a sense that she has a life, but because Davies defined Rose's life so thoroughly, he only needs to offer a rough sketch of Martha's. I've got exams, I've got things to do, I have to go to town first thing and pay the rent, I've got the family going mad. It does feel like it's been adapted from a template, but it's handled quickly enough that it gives Martha a background without distracting from the plot. Smith and Jones is a delightfully fun Doctor Who run-around adventure at its core, featuring a Judoon platoon upon the moon, which was apparently written just so David Tennant would have trouble pronouncing it in his English accent. Not that too many would have complained had he slipped into his native Scottish accent halfway through, however. The concept here is delightfully surreal, revelling on the juxtaposition of the mundane and the impossible that really defines the revived television show. Here it's the site of a hospital transported to the moon in order to avoid those pesky intergalactic jurisdiction issues. There's also an aging salt vampire who drinks blood through a straw and has picked the hospital at the most logical place to bide her time. It's the perfect hiding place, blood banks downstairs for a midnight feast, and all this equipment ready to arm myself should the police come looking. Like a lot of the better RTD scripts, the action moves fast enough that we don't really question what's going on. Instead, it's just an engaging collection of nice character moments and clever plot points. I quite like, for example, the 10th Doctor's attempts to get the vampire to tell him her plan, even if his ego won't let him play entirely dumb. But isn't that a magnetic resonance imaging thing, like a ginormous sort of magnet? He pauses, realising he might sound too smart. I did magnetics GCSE. Maybe still too clever. Well, I failed, but all the same. When she explains the force of the field she plans to generate, he's shocked. Oh, that's a bit strong. And then he realises he might be tipping his hand. Isn't it? The script here is packed with nice little touches and clever moments like that, with Davies clearly having a bit of freedom due to the fact its plotting is relatively straightforward. One of the strengths of Davies as a scriptwriter is his character work, and the supporting cast of Smith and Jones feels exceptionally well developed. I particularly like the consultant, Mr. Stoker, which is, of course, a nod to a vampire lore. I kind of wish there was an alternative universe where the Doctor took Mr. Stoker with him. Might have been kind of fun. Then again, we'd have to reach a point where the show was comfortable with a single male companion, let alone a middle-aged one. The script also allows Tennant to be as charming as possible. I remarked above that Tennant's charm goes a long way towards covering up the fact that the 10th Doctor is pretty mean to Martha, and it's worth remarking how comfortable Tennant has become in the role over the last year. He's been playing the Doctor for over a year now, and it feels so incredibly natural that it seems effortless. Tennant seemed to understand the role from his first very appearance, but the ease with which he inhabits the part here is particularly evident. There's a sense of fun, excitement, and enthusiasm with Tennant's Doctor that makes him a joy to watch, and I just love him. One of the more interesting aspects of Smith and Jones, and one that is kept in the background, is the fact that it demonstrates that the Doctor chooses a companion. Despite what the show leads us to believe, it isn't just anybody who gets to travel. The Doctor has clearly made mistakes before, as with Adam in the long game, but it's clear here that Martha is the ideal candidate. Obviously she is going to be chosen, it's her name's in the credits, her family drama in the opening scene, but Smith and Jones actually makes an effort to explain why. It's a 45-minute job interview, kind of. It isn't merely a case of being in the right place at the right time, as Rose may seem to appear that way. We were presented in Smith and Jones with a bunch of trainee doctors also. There's Martha, Swells, and Morgenstern. Each of the three reacts to the same situation, but only one earns the respect of the Doctor's attention. Swells, for example, reacts with fear and scepticism. She's completely unable to adapt to the fantastic new reality that is faced towards her. When the Doctor asks how the hospital could be breathing, Swells simply provides, "We can't be." That closed-minded and irrational response immediately gets her struck down from the potential list of candidates. Obviously we are, so don't waste my time. The 10th Doctor is a bit callous here, so he invites Martha to follow him, but doesn't want Swells tagging along. Come on, not her, she'd hold us up. Which is a bit strong, but I kind of like it at the same time. Morgenstern, on the other hand, holds himself together a bit better. However, his main problem is he is a spineless coward. He cooperates with the Judoon and tries to minimise the hassle as they catalogue the hospital. It seems like a decent enough idea, and one that has its merits. Unfortunately, when the Judoon executes one of the patients, all Morgenstern can offer is a half-hearted, you didn't have to do that. Morgenstern is hardly the most heroic of characters, especially when compared to Martha's courage in risking her life for the safety of the Doctor and everyone in that hospital. Naturally, Morgenstern has a bit of an ego and tries to capitalise on his actions on the moon. Interviewed by the press, he tries to play up the importance of the role in the crisis. I told them that I represented the human race. I told them, you can't do that. I said, we have rights. Martha, on the other hand, demonstrates an ability to think and act quickly. When she notes that the hospital isn't airtight, so there must be air on the moon, the Doctor approves. Very good point. Brilliant, in fact. Even when she's incorrect throughout the episode, he still encourages her. When she suggests they're trespassing on the moon, he notes that it's the wrong answer, but that doesn't mean it's a bad one. No, but I like that. Good thinking. Another great thing I like about this episode is the action sequences, such as when they're being chased by the Slab or the Judoon later on. And particularly I love Murray Gold's music.
I've restored the backup.
I found her.
You did what?
Non-human.
Oh my god, you really are?
And again.
Martha effectively aces the Doctor Who companion entrance exam, and I think that Smith and Jones might plausibly be the best companion introduction in the history of the show. I look forward to discussing her further in the forthcoming reviews for Series 3. Overall, I'd argue Smith and Jones does an exceptional job kicking off the third season of the revival, and stands out as one of the best season openers in the long history of the show. The Judoon are a great introduction, arguably not really one I can really talk about at length, but they're one of RTD's best, and Anne Reid does a fantastic job as the Plasmavore. I give Smith and Jones an 8.5 out of
Judoon platoon upon the moon.